So this is day 5. Got 3 days left of this. This is hump day. So after today we got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's it. So yesterday on Wednesday I was sweating to the coldies. This is an awkward time of year here. October's always interesting in Minnesota. You have the Indian summer and all that. Is this camera really shaking the way it looks like it is? I don't know why it would do that. Great. Well, just so you know, that's not me having some kind of spaz fit if you're seeing me jump around. When I look in the viewfinder, my body keeps doing this jumping thing. I don't know if it's recording that or not. That's kind of eerie to watch. Wow. This time of year, the weather, it gets into the 40s or 50s during the daytime, and if the sun's up, it can actually get kind of warm on you. But then at night, of course, it's 30, 32, 33, something like that. Like right now, it's, I believe, 30. Or it's supposed to be anyway. So it makes it very difficult. When I had my car, I had all my clothes in the car, or what I needed, so I can't even imagine what this thing's doing. Now I'm jumping all up in the air. Here, let me try adjusting this thing a bit. See if I don't know what's going on with this. That's great. It's about the only technology I have left. Why shouldn't that break as well? Where was I? It's hard to think when it's this cold too. So when I was in my car, I had clothes and I could put on layers, take off layers as needed throughout the day. But now you either wear what you need all day long, which means in the daytime when it's a bit, quote, warmer, but the sun might be on you, you're boiling hot, or you have to carry your clothes when you're on foot. So yesterday when I had to walk down to pay the storage bill in the afternoon, I'm looking into the sun, and the sun was really hot. And I was literally dripping sweat. It was dripping, pouring off me as if it was mid-July. And yet the air around me, the ambient air, was still pretty cool. That doesn't do anything to help with this cold. But that's what I have to do. Because it's so cold, I actually had to get a couple more layers of clothes. So I have 7 layers of clothes up here right now. And only 1 on my legs. So it was kind of difficult yesterday with that sweating. It was really, really miserable because you do all that horrible sweating, it's just dripping. I had to keep taking towels and wiping myself, but then it almost freezes to your face. It's really, really uncomfortable. So I paid the storage bill yesterday, apparently for the last time, which is one reason I have to head into the wilderness now, because like I said before, I do not want to be around when that storage takes all of my remaining stuff like they did in California. I just can't go through that again. I can't do it. I won't do it. It's what it's like when you're completely alone in the world, as I have been for more than 30 years. I told you he'd be back. I gotta wait for him. You won't hear me otherwise. Was his transmission made in China or what? That thing sound. You know what that sounds like? When I was a kid in the 70s, they had these toys. I mean, we had heroes back then, and one of them was Evel Knievel. And I had the Evel Knievel motorcycle and the Evel Knievel crash car. And you would put it in this little triangular block and start cranking that thing, and it would whine like that. And then you stop it, and the car or the motorcycle would take off and do a wheelie, and it sounds a lot like that garbage truck. Where was I? I can't even think straight, it's so cold. Like I said, yesterday, Wednesday was Thursday. What day is it? No, yesterday was Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, okay. I can't think straight, folks. It's just too cold. My brain doesn't move any faster than my hands trying to play drums anymore. It's hump day here for the 7 days left to live, so as I passed over it, oddly enough, pretty much right after noon, I don't believe it, I gotta stop for this guy again. I don't know how, I'm sorry everyone, I'm not trying to time it to pick up this guy, but wow. Is this transmission made out of plastic gears or what? How can something whine like that? See, the things I talked about before were another one of the countless things that I worked on in my life was noise and health. And people just don't grasp how noisy our world is. I mean, you go out into the wilderness and you suddenly realize, oh wow, listen to the birds, listen to how quiet it is, it's amazing. Yes, you notice how quiet it is, but the thing you don't notice is how noisy it is throughout almost all of your life, because you become accustomed to it. The problem is that noise that you're exposed to almost all the time is very dangerous. It hurts you badly. And just listen to how loud that thing was, that one vehicle breaking the relative quiet of this time of day. That's just one. When these guys start rolling into work here in a couple hours up this street here, especially with all those farting, booming cars and such, I mean, it's so loud, I have to turn the limiter up on here to avoid just clipping everything because, I mean, I don't know. Don't want to get into that, but if you looked at the actual loudness of those vehicles there in the morning, it is, you know, I'm not going to say it approaches a Saturn V rocket or something, but it's way up there like having a chainsaw, you know, 10, 20 feet away from you or something. It's dangerous. It's bad for your hearing, and it puts your body in fight or flight mode all the time. And again, these are things that lead to things like increased alcohol abuse, drug abuse, things like that, heart attacks. Anyway, not here to talk about that. I tried talking about that, but nobody cared. They just let me die. So apparently I wasn't talking about anything that interested anybody, so there's no point talking about it now. I just spent a lifetime studying it, so there's no reason I should actually talk about it. Hump day yesterday. So afternoon, as I was walking to the library, I knew it would happen at some point in these 7 days. I just didn't know when. I was kind of curious when, but you probably noticed in my last few videos I'm not the happiest camper in the world. And I don't want to die. I have no desire for that at all. I mean, I can't live anymore. If my body survived, my whole life has been taken from me, so I couldn't do anything anymore. So it's already over. I'm just waiting for the biology at this point. But I knew at some point that natural anger and bitterness and generally being very upset about being murdered was going to at some point give way to a more direct contemplation of what's coming here in the next several days. And oddly enough, it happened right about in the middle of the day, right on hump day. So as I was walking to the library, I just started thinking about some things, and I think it started with me thinking about the video game My Singing Monsters. If you look on my American Homeless Holocaust channel, I have a tribute to My Singing Monsters, and I show you what my islands look like back at the time I recorded that. By the way, I also have another video there called what it feels like to be murdered, and you might want to check that out, because that's one of the most important videos I posted there. I posted it for law enforcement and CSI and things like that, because we've become very desensitized. People don't understand what murder really is until it happens to you, and once you realize what it is, you realize the true horror of it. But people have lost sight of that, and that's why people can watch me die, and that's why social services can throw me out to die like that so callously after having me physically inside an apartment for the first time in 10 years, and they don't think anything of it. It doesn't even bother them. We've just lost it. And part of it's all this true crime stuff and television that's desensitized us, the movies where 20 people are being killed every hour. But it actually goes back even further to the funeral industry, the way that death has been removed from, it used to be when a family member died, it was the family who took care of the body, and they took care of the burial. And even the small children saw the dead body and touched the dead body and prepared the dead body. And people were very intimately aware of what death was. And if somebody got murdered, such that they had a hatchet sticking in their forehead as you're preparing their body, what a murder was made pretty well aware to that family of the victim. But today, for all these reasons combined, they don't even comprehend really what death is, let alone what murder is. So I do encourage you to watch my video, What It Feels Like to Be Murdered, so maybe you can kind of get back to some comprehension of what a true atrocity has happened right in front of your eyes here, and is happening. But I have another video there where I do a tribute to this video game called My Singing Monsters. Hey, sue me, it's a fun game, what can I say? It's a cute little game, and I got thinking of it, and they have all these monsters in there, and you feed them, and they sing, and you can kind of do a bit of mixing to make the song a bit of your own, and I just started thinking about some of those monsters, and I talked in my video about how cute they are, the way they're always smiling, and they're so happy, they're just out there singing, ball, 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 ball. And that's the mammoth who does that, look kind of like a Sasquatch kind of guy. And I got thinking about that, and it just suddenly occurred to me, it's like, I'm only going to feed my monsters about 3 or 4 more times, and then I'm never going to see them again. Ever. I have a couple years invested in that video game, and not that that matters that much, but I mean, the thing is, I'm kind of attached to those monsters. I'm never going to see any of them ever again a few days from now. And that, of course, led me down other paths of other things I'm never going to see again, and people I'm never going to see again. And kind of overtook me while I was walking up a steep hill there. I had to turn away from the traffic because I just started bawling. Because like I said here, I don't want to die. I'm being murdered. Nobody cares. So my experience is clearly going to start heading toward that realm and probably away from what caused my murder, which I've talked about more than enough on my previous channel and earlier videos here. Of course, since music is the center of my life, even though American Musicals probably ruined music for me, I can't get it out of my system even then. And so I sat down when I got to the library and I thought, well, gee, what can I do musically with these videos while I have a chance? And I was trying to think, well, is there a video I can make about music or songs, or what are the last songs I want to hear before I die, this kind of thing. And so I started drawing them out, and then I went and looked at my song list. I mean, my main hard drive was in storage. There's so many tens of thousands of songs there. It does take days to go through the whole thing if you're looking at it. And you know, I started drawing it out, but of course it didn't take long for I had a spreadsheet that was so long it'd be 10 hours of songs, and so that's pointless. The interesting thing is where I got those songs from. These salt of the earth people who've been helping me, you know, helping me get a cup of coffee or some food or what have you, just helping me where they can when they don't have anything themselves really. And the generosity of some of these people is off the scale. And it should bring shame to all those people out there who have so much and they do nothing with it. But nobody's perfect. And I wanted to thank them, but you know, I don't know, what can I do? I can't buy them anything. I can't drive anywhere. I can't do anything at all. So I thought, well, I mean, all my music gear's gone. I can't make any music, but I can make mixes, which I've always enjoyed doing. So I went through all those songs. That's how I know it takes about 20 hours to go through them all. And I made a disc of about 40 mixes. Each one's about an hour long, so that's about 40 hours of mixes. And then I threw in the mixes I had done with Christian rock earlier, so that was another 6 mixes. And then I threw in my own band's music, and it basically took them on a tour from the beginning of the recording industry at all, around the 1930s, all the way up until present. And most of the songs in there, I suspect nobody I was giving this to had ever heard. I mean, they'd heard many of them, the ones that play on the radio, classic rock, 70s, that kind of thing, but from what I can tell from what they listen to and how they listen to it, they probably have never even been exposed to very much of what I was giving them, and this is extraordinary music. So I put a lot of work into that, and I didn't clock that one, but I would estimate it was at least 200 hours when I was in the hotel. It was about the last thing I did in the hotel. At least 200 hours I spent putting together all these mixes, and I created graphics for the thumbnails, so when you bring up the song on your player, it shows you an album cover, and I just did all the stuff, and I put them in a nice organized fashion, gave them consistent names, just made this sweet thing. And then I had to struggle to find a way to give it to everybody because I had no money. I couldn't go out and just buy a bag of cheap USB drives. I needed 6 gigabytes. So I needed really an 8 gigabyte drive for every person, and there were about 12 people. So I ended up scavenging, since I'm not, you know, I knew I was going to be dead. I'm not going to have any use for it. So I just kind of scavenged every chip and SD card I could find from everything I had, and I think there's only one person left I still haven't gotten it to. So I've given it to about 11 people there, and it was about a month ago when I gave it to them. And here's the thing, after all that work, a month later, based on my interactions with these people, I'm not aware that even one of them has ever even looked at it, let alone listened to anything on it. And these are the good guys. So if you want to know what it feels like when you're dying, it ain't all bad. Based on the food I have remaining, which is 2 packs of ramen noodles, 1 chicken and 1 beef, I should be done eating on Saturday. Because I'll have one. This is Friday, right? Yeah, now it's Friday, so I'll have 1 tonight and 1 Saturday. So I guess remember what I was going to do before was I was going to have these great meals that I love so much and basically hit the wilderness on a full stomach and then starve to death. But it looks like now I'm going to start starving on Sunday before I even head out to the wilderness, since I didn't get what I expected from that guitar. I talked about my singing Monsters, and just how charming it is. It's like an adult version of going back to when you're a kid, because it's really not a kid's game per se. I mean, I guess it's for kids or adults, but it isn't really for any age group. It's just fun for anyone who likes music and likes monsters, I guess. I've never been into these breeding things, but it's a fun game. It's really neat. It doesn't take too long to play, which is nice. You don't have to sit there and spend all day on it like some of those war games. But the other 2 games I really played, since I'm not really a gamer, when I ended up in the hotel shortly before I got fired, when I was in the hotel for 13 months, saving up to get a new car, which turned out to be a lemon, of course, right before they fired me, as I walked to work for 13 months, I did a lot of things in that hotel, because I was in a hotel, so I had a big screen, 2 big screens actually, so I could actually get quite a bit done. Graphic design, that's when I went to town on all those renders with the 3D rendering. If you look on my American Homeless Holocaust page, you'll also see my 3D renders. If you watch that, you'll see me talk about how I got into 3D rendering, and I was building a following there. I mean, I had so many things going on in my life that American Musical Supply absolutely destroyed as quick as a gunshot. I was building followings there. I was working on instruction and things like that. Won't go into everything I was doing, but I had a lot of really cool things going, and I was getting good at it. And it branched off into a lot of other things. It was fun. It was really, really fun and enlightening, because it's very closely tied to photography. When you do those 3D renders, it's modeling light. Just like when you take a picture, you have to know how to set your f-stops and all that stuff, and your lenses, and that 3D rendering models that mathematically. It's fascinating. So I was having a great time. That's just one of, again, dozens of things that American Musical Supply just killed. So that following I had 2 years ago, they haven't heard from me in 2 years. And that's all gone. And I had that following at several different places, not just one. So American Musical Supply just killed me. They just ended my life. But while I was in that room, I also started playing 2 other games, because, again, I hadn't really played games since back in the 80s prior to that, except for Command and Conquer. And it was Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo, which are so much fun. I love amusement parks. I love animals. I've never been a fan of zoos because I don't like the idea of confining the animals. But I have to admit, since I've been making my zoo, I find myself really caring about the animals, and I make my zoo so that they have a really good, comfortable life with a really big habitat, and they're safe from predators, and it's not all bad. And Planet Coaster, of course, with all those roller coasters. You can build your own roller coasters. I did another video on my American Homeless Holocaust which talked about my Planet Coaster Park that I'd built. You can check that out as well if you're so inclined. That was another thing that American Musical Supply killed because my background's in computer science. I could tell 95% certainty that Planet Coaster 2 was finally going to come out. A lot of people thought they had abandoned Planet Coaster and it would never be updated. I could just tell from what I saw, it seemed awfully likely Planet Coaster 2 was coming soon. So I was getting prepared for it because I wanted to jump in and start a YouTube channel for Planet Coaster 2 to try to wedge myself in with all these established people from Planet Coaster 1 for specific purposes. I talk about in that other video, but and of course they did. As soon as I got fired, almost immediately after that, they announced Planet Coaster 2, but American Musical Supply obliterated that project as well. I mean, I just had dozens of projects I was working on. I've always done that. I've always done multiple projects at one time since I was a little kid. Just tiny, little, itty-bitty kid. And I didn't call it multitasking. They didn't really start that till the 80s when we were starting to duke it out economically with Japan. They started coming up with all these terms like multitasking. And it's like, I don't multitask. I'm not a computer. My brain doesn't work like a computer. A computer multitasks, but a human brain doesn't. I just do a whole bunch of things at the same time. You see, that's different. But the thing is, Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo are so charming. They have that childlike quality to them, but they're really adult games in a sense. They're so good-natured. There's just nothing bad in it. I mean, okay, once in a while the guests will vomit when they get off a ride, but you can turn that off in the settings, though. But the guests are all just amazed. They're walking around with big smiles, and the kids are bouncing around with their hair, and they're carrying their balloons, and everyone's just smiling and laughing and having a great time. And it's the same thing at the zoo, unless your animals are being mistreated, and then you get these dang tree-hugging protesters who come in and ruin your zoo. But they're just so charming. And I put a lot of time, I mean, hey, again, call me names if you want. I don't care. I mean, yeah, at my age, I started playing a few video games, and one of them's an amusement park, the other one's a zoo, and the other one is monsters singing. So sue me. I enjoy them, and they were charming. They let me, as an adult, go back to what it was like when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, that's what you had to use your imagination for everything. And even the original video games back then, when you had to swap out floppy disks just to play Leisure Suit Larry, I mean, well, maybe not those Sierra games. Those were great. I loved them. Ken and what's her name? Ken and Roberta Williams. Couple of my heroes, look them up sometime. Ken and Roberta Williams, who founded Sierra Online. Just a wonderful success story. Married couple who were pioneers in the computer game industry in the early 80s. And the games that came out once computers started getting slightly more powerful, like a 386 processor, and maybe you're swapping to 3.5-inch discs instead of 5 1/4 discs. And all my discs, by the way, all my 5 1/4, 3.5-inch discs in California storage are gone. You know why. And some of these games like XCOM and StarCraft, they necessarily left so much open to the imagination. And that's why I love them. In fact, I love them more than the modern games that do everything for you. Submarine games where you had to spend a lot of your time just traveling, and you're just sitting there doing nothing, because that's how a submarine functions in the real world. Flight simulators, kind of the same thing, You can get one of those arcade style where the plane's just flying all over the place, or you can fly like a real pilot and realize, hey, this is kind of mundane, but you gotta know what you're doing. so that all your passengers and you get where you're going alive. And I love those kinds of games. I'm not into the shoot 'em ups and stuff. Okay. I liked The Godfather, and if I hadn't gotten fired, I probably would have gotten one of the Grand Theft Autos, one of the older ones or something, because, I mean, they're fun, you know. But it's not something I'd spend as much time as I would on these three. They're just really, really charming. And the thing is, these are the kinds of things I started thinking about yesterday, and it's like, I'm never going to see these again. I put all this time into building this theme park and building my own roller coasters. And yeah, it's a video game, but I put more than a year into this, and the zoo as well. And it's mine. This is my park. I designed this and built it and nurtured it. That zoo, those animals, like my fish tank, my guinea pigs when I had a home, those animals are my responsibility, and I just feel like I'm abandoning them. They're not real, but it just shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't have to go this way. But American Musical Supply killed everything, and it's so sad. I don't want to lose these things. I don't want there to be a last time I play My Singing Monsters. And the truth is, there's already the last time I played the zoo and the Planet Coaster, because the computer's so destroyed it can't even run those games anymore. It just overheats and shuts down almost immediately. So it's been, geez, it was only a couple months into the hotel here, maybe 6 months ago, when the computer got so bad that I couldn't even play those games again. And of course, if I hadn't lost my job, that would not be the case at all. In fact, I would have a better machine and be able to run them even better. So they killed that. I mean, they killed everything. They killed everything I do in my life, everything in my life. They just killed it all in one bam, one gunshot. Not made by Smith & Wesson, made by employment at will. So I got The Hunger beginning on Sunday, and I'm winding down to where I'm starting to think about all these things I'm never going to see again, ever, for eternity. And I hate it. I did nothing to deserve it. These people are getting away with murder. And as I thought about that, I started thinking about things in the past, as I often do, and I have so much past. I'm 57 years old. There's an endless supply of nostalgia and things to remember, especially you go back to the 70s and everything. And one of the things I thought of was, I don't even know today if people have even watched or heard of the TV show Hogan's Heroes, about that POW camp in Germany. Not a concentration camp, not a death camp like Auschwitz. That's where Dr. Mengele was. That's where American Musical Supply would have set up shop. But a POW camp, which wasn't good either in Nazi Germany. And sometimes they overlap, these death camps. But the TV show Hogan's Heroes was about more of a traditional POW camp, someone who follows the Geneva Convention. Wink, wink. And Bob Crane played Colonel Hogan in there. And Bob Crane, of course, he had that deep voice. He was a big radio announcer. I mean, radio was huge when I was growing up. Radio was bigger than television, really. Really, until about 1980. I mean, even then, radio was still my main source of information and entertainment, even more than TV. And then radio almost died overnight when cable TV came out. But sometime around 1976, I remember being in the car with my mom. It's amazing how many things I remember hearing on the radio in the car with my mom. I think because that's the only time I ever listened to the news. I was just a little kid, right? So if we're in the car, we'd hear the news. And I hear over the radio that Bob Crane had been murdered. Been stabbed to death in a hotel room in Arizona. And that was pretty heartbreaking for a kid, because Hogan's Heroes was one of my favorite TV shows, and Bob Crane's character, Colonel Hogan, was one of those kind of hero figures. He's always outsmarting the Germans. He's always standing up for what's right. He's courageous. They're putting their lives on the line for the cause. Just like with the Evel Knievel, even though Evel Knievel turned out to be a really nasty human being, back then we didn't have the internet, so nobody knew that. You didn't know that he was basically a jackass, but what he did publicly and the way that he tried to publicly be a positive influence, especially on children, was very admirable of him, and he did it. He was a hero. Broke every bone in his body, and I watched him do it as a kid. And kids don't have heroes anymore. I mean, maybe people throwing a ball back and forth somewhere, but not that kind of thing. And so when I heard on the radio there in the car with my mom that Bob Crane had been murdered, that was incredibly shocking. That would be like, the Partridge Family's bus drove over a cliff. There are no survivors. I mean, it's that kind of thing. That was probably around 1976. So I would have been about 10, 11 years old. That was rough. I mean, there's a lot of things I heard. I remember another thing I heard in the car. There was a TV show called Family Affair, which, as I recall, was really boring. But I watched it anyway. I don't know why. Probably because the older daughter was pretty cute. The younger ones, the little boy and the little girl, the twins, they were like really young. I don't know. 6, 7, 8, I don't know what, something like that. But the girl, I think, was named Muffy. Wasn't it Muffy and Buffy? But it had Brian Keith as the father, and of course Sebastian Cabot as the I don't know what you call him, butler, I guess. And Sebastian Cabot is very dignified. I mean, these are just things you don't see in television anymore, and the younger generation doesn't have this influence. That's why you get things like this Backstabber. They don't have any positive influences in their media. It's just all about me. Miley Cyrus or whatever, whoever, I don't know if she's still around. Whoever's big today, whoever's in the media today, that's who they have to look up to. But Brian Keith was a very, manly actor, father figure in this thing. Sebastian Cabot was a very dignified, kind of English distinguished gentleman. And then you had these two little kids who were just little kids. And that show was on sometime in the 60s, and I had watched it in reruns in the 70s. And again, sometime around this same time, around the mid-70s, I hear on the news that the girl who played Muffy, which was to me like a 6-year-old girl, had died of a heroin overdose. And I'm picturing in my mind a 6-year-old girl dying of a heroin overdose. But Bob Crane was murdered, and you know what? The person who killed him got away with it. No one was ever charged. The evidence leans very, very strongly in favor of one person being responsible, but there's nothing there to prove it. So as I was thinking about that, folks, that was 50 years ago. That was half a century ago. When I heard on the radio that one of my heroes from television, the guy who couldn't be killed, he went up against the Nazis. He went up against Hitler. He went up against Klink. I know, bad joke, but you know what I'm saying. This was Colonel Hogan, and he gets murdered, stabbed in the back, literally stabbed in the back in his bed. That was 50 years ago. And I've thought about it a couple times in the meantime over the last 50 years, and I've gone and looked to see if they've been able to prove who did it. Never did. I don't know if DNA will allow that to happen or not, but the person who killed him got away with it. 50 years ago, half a century ago, when I heard that news as a little kid in the car with my mom sitting next to me, it never occurred to me, you know what? I'm going to get stabbed in the back and be murdered, and the person who does it's going to get away with it. Even though everyone knows who did it, just like with Bob Crane, for what it's worth, everybody knows who did it. They just can't prove that he did it. It was his friend named John Carpenter, not the movie director, someone else. He just happens to have the name John Carpenter, but it seems pretty certain. I mean, if you think OJ did it, then you would think that John Carpenter killed Bob Crane, but no one could ever prove it. 50 years later, half a century later, here I am walking down the street. I burst into tears, and I suddenly, out of nowhere, think about Bob Crane being stabbed in the back in his bed by someone he trusted the most, one of his best friends. Everyone knows he did it, and the guy gets away with it. Most likely. In my case, what do you have? I get stabbed in the back by the people I trust the most. The whole world sees right here who did it, and they're going to get away with it. When I was a kid, I couldn't conceive of the idea that half a century later the same thing would happen to me as that horrible, shocking news I heard here. I would have expected something more like what I heard, 6 years later? About 5, 6 years later. I wasn't in the car this time. I was making coffee before I went to school. I was in middle school, I think. Yeah, it would have been 7th or 8th grade. And on the news it came out that John Lennon had been shot. I would have expected to die in a way like that. Some random crazy loon shot me dead or something. I would expect that. I wouldn't expect the people I cared about and trusted the most to do it to me, and that they get away with it when the whole world knows what they did. And of course, when I was at storage, I just went in and swapped out some things, got the other clothes. I got some more socks. I found a few pair of socks left, thank goodness. The socks I'm wearing now have been wet for the last 3-4 weeks. I don't know how long. They've got holes in the heels. My right foot is so destroyed. There's no epidermis for what it's worth. It's basically fat tissue and blood. It's just so it's all liquid and ooze, and it's just horrible. But when you're on foot like this, I got the socks, and I spent all day trying to figure out, well, how do I swap these socks out? How do I take these socks off and throw them away and wash my feet so that they're clean, and then get them dry so I'm not just putting on wet socks again, and then put on these new socks. And there's no opportunity to do that. And I got thinking today, and I was like, well, where am I going to do that? There's no private bathroom I can go to. Any bathroom I go to is some public place with people going in and out all the time. I'm not in any shape to be lifting my legs all the way up above a sink. I'd be putting all my weight on it and probably collapse the sink, pull it right off the wall. So how am I supposed to even clean my feet? I can hardly even touch my feet right now. I'm so swollen down there. So I don't even know how. I'm probably just going to have to pull these socks off and put the other ones on. They're still going to smell bad, and my feet will be wet, and they'll just get the new socks wet. And this is how hard it is, folks. This is the reality when you're living outside. For you, you just go to your bedroom, you go to your bathroom, you jump in the bathtub or the shower, and you clean your feet. You run a towel over them, maybe your hair dryer, or you just wait a while for it to air dry, and then you put your socks on. Done deal. That's not the way it is for us. There's not one thing that we do that is easy compared to what you do, except suffer. I have no idea when I'm going to be able to put these socks on, or where, or how. But when I was at storage, I'm looking around in there, and it's starting to occur to me again. I'm just thinking about, there's hundreds of things in there. And over right in front of me, when I open the door, right in front of me, the 3 boxes that are right in front of me are the boxes that contain all of the things that I bought over the last 10 years since I've been homeless that were meant to decorate my new home, which I would have had about a year from now, maybe 2, if American Musical Supply had not ended my life. And now they're just going to get sold off with everything else. All those things I went out and find, and they're all so cute and unique. None of them are just off the shelf Target, Walmart, China junk. These are unique things. You know, thrift shop finds and things like that, garage sales. I mean, just irreplaceable. Absolutely. Just like the stuff I lost in California. Irreplaceable. Can't be replaced. No, I never buy off the shelf generic junk. It's all going to be gone. It also occurred to me, for some reason, I don't know, I guess I never thought about it, but I never thought I would die in November or October. I mean, it's possible I could still die in, what do I have, a week till Halloween? I mean, the odds are I'm going to last a week. I hate to say it, but maybe not. The thing is, I'm not going to be able to take liquid with me. The dehydration's probably what's going to do me in more than the starvation. Starvation, you can go without food. Like I said, last year I went 2 weeks without food. I hated it, and it was horrifying. And if you go too long without food, then the act of eating will kill you. So even if you're not dead yet, you're still dead, because you're going to die of starvation or you're going to eat, and that will kill you. But look it up. But in my case, I think it's going to be dehydration or wild animal attack that takes me out, or a heart attack just from the misery. But I don't know, for some reason I never thought I would die in November. Such a cold, miserable month. You know, Halloween's not a favorite holiday of mine at all. It's a pagan, as a Christian, it's not my favorite holiday, right? I mean, just didn't think, I don't know, for some reason I thought it would be a nice sunny day when I died. I'm trying to look at my notes here. So, these things I'm talking about, I don't know if anyone out there watching these videos just watches this and then you flip on something else that interests you when you're done or whatever. Go play your own video game or do what you do. But do any of you contemplate any of this? I mean, you really, truly think about it? It takes courage. It takes a lot of courage. It takes the courage of an Evel Knievel to face the reality of this world. What you're seeing here is real. This is not a reality show. This is not television. This is a real human being who's going to be dead soon. And he doesn't want to be. And he's being murdered right in front of your eyes. And everyone knows who did it. And nobody's going after them. Is anybody out there contemplating this and what it means that you live in a world where that can even happen? I'm just asking the question. I don't know if you do or not. I mean, what does it mean that we live in a world where that can happen? Seems to me it would have some implications for your life. Might be worth spending some time thinking about. And of course, all these kinds of questions lead to the questions I've had before. I mean, throughout this whole homelessness thing, I've thought I was gonna die so many times. I remember doing a video back in a graveyard back 8 years ago, probably. Yeah, right before I got this job at American Musical Supply, because that was a bona fide miracle. But like I said, if that hadn't happened, I would have been dead back then. I would have died back then. And this time it's just certain, because everything's gone. I have nothing. I mean, at least those times I had my stuff. You can sell off stuff to keep alive a little longer. It's all gone now. It's just gone. There's nothing. It's all got. American Musical Supply took it all. It's everything is gone, and I can get a gift of this or a gift of that. It keeps me alive in a couple more days, but it's over. It's done. It's a done deal. Put a fork in it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. I mean, if an attorney came up to me somehow right now and said, "Hey, I saw your videos on there, and you're right. You've got a case. This is a slam dunk." We'll probably be handing you the keys to American Musical Supply as its new owner when we're done with this one. This is a $100 million lawsuit if I ever saw one. These guys are. This is the worst thing we've ever seen, and you've got more than enough evidence, and we're going to help flesh that out. We're going to get this done. I would have to say to him, well, thanks, but no thanks, because you know what? I have no money, I have no food, I have no way to earn an income legally. I'm freezing to death. I'm done. There's nothing left. They took it all. And a lawsuit takes time. So this is a done deal. They murdered me. And just because I'm alive right now as I say that, don't let that fool you. I can only say it when I'm alive. Coming up soon when I'm not alive anymore, you won't hear me saying it anymore because I'll be dead. And they did it. I'm so tempted to say the names of the people I know. Who did this to me. Apparently I'll never know the names of the ones in New Jersey who did this to me. Talk about cowardice. I mean, I grew up with heroes like Evel Knievel, who breaks every bone in his body doing these incredibly courageous things. And I grew up with the World War II generation, which is a matter of courage that is just off the scale. To think that human beings, to think that my species, the species that I'm a member of, had that kind of courage. I gotta wonder, in the same circumstance, would I have that kind of courage? I wonder. I mean, maybe, in a sense. I didn't give up here. I lasted for a year and a half. I fought and clawed to stay alive. I did not kill myself. I will not kill myself. But, geez, going to Iwo Jima or something? And these putzes over here can't even put their own name on their own document that they give me to sign so that I know who it is who's doing this to me. You talk about cowardice. Why is nobody going after these people? These are the worst people who have ever existed on this planet. I just don't get it. But I started, anyway, what I was getting at is I started thinking about the obvious questions. What's going to be the last song I ever hear? And this has come up before when I thought I was, kind of getting to the end previously. And I was back in 2017, early. I was very, very close. What's the last song I'm ever going to hear? Back then, I said if I had a choice, it's going to be The Song Is Over by The Who. I think that's changed now. It's not because I don't like that song. I love that song. But it's just the way you see things differently over time and as you get older. I don't know what song, but what's going to be the last song I hear? Because I don't know when I die. I'm not going to have battery power to take this stuff out with me. It's not like I'm going to be sitting out in the woods with headphones on, listening to great music, looking at my tablet. I'm going to have nothing. I don't have any way to get batteries running. I'm going to have nothing. No electronic devices, nothing. I'm just going to lay there until I die. I mean, what else can I'm not looking forward to it. And I got thinking, well, what's going to be the last film I will have seen? What would be the last film of my life? Filmmaking was another big thing of mine. Studying filmmaking on my own over the last, 20, 30 years. When I lost my home 10 years ago, I had 2,000 DVDs, and that was my film school. I only have 200 of them left in storage right now, and now these are going to be lost. Well, obviously, I'm not going to watch a movie between now and then. It's done. So the question is, what's the last film I watched? Because that will be the last film I ever see in my entire life. And I don't know if it's ironic or what, because it had nothing to do with this, but the last film I saw was Idiocracy. Which is surprisingly apropos. The only reason I watched it's because I recommended it to someone else, and that made me think, oh, you know what, I should watch that again. That's the only reason I watched it then. That's the last movie I saw. That will be the last movie I will ever see in my life. Idiocracy. The Rule of Stupid People. Go figure. Well, I'm very, very cold, and my throat burns, and I think that's all I had for today. Thanks for watching. For what it's worth, you might consider, for your own edification and your own personal growth and your own betterment, you might consider contemplating what you're seeing in front of you right here. Spend a little time thinking about it. Think about it for real. What's really happening in front of your eyes. Go watch that video I made, what it feels like to be murdered. Think about it. Don't treat this like a TV show. This is not a reality show. I'm a real human being. I'm a real person. And I'm really, truly being murdered by the people I trusted and cared about the most. And they are really getting away with it scot-free, just like Joseph Mengele. Sit down and think about that for a while. Think about what it means that you live in a world where that can happen. You might even ask yourself if there's anything you could do about it. That's up to you. In any event, day 6 is tomorrow, which is Saturday, I guess. See you then.